What's Al-Jama-ah's position on the LGBTQI community?
Alphabet community, LGBT.
What is Sharia law, and is Al-Jama-ah going to bring it to South Africa?
Sharia law is the laws that governs Muslim states.
Is Al-Jama-ah a stepchild of the ANC? Welcome back to Palatable Politics, a show where we take the complexity out of politics and make it palatable for you. With me, your host, TJ Maslela. Welcome to the show. In today's session, we're going to be going into the manifesto of Al-Jama-ah. And here to make it palatable for us is none other than Mr. Thapelo Ahmad, who is a former mayor of Joburg, sorry, it keeps getting me, and currently the premier candidate for Gauteng. How are you doing?
Thank you, TJ. I'm doing very well. I don't know if I should greet the viewers at home, but yeah, shout out to the viewers at home. Yes, because they are important. You know, they are imperative in this discussion because they form part of the discussion. So shout outs to the viewers at home. Dumelang, lekai, absheni, nda, nimacheron, kimacheron ne, masiar, nimasiar. Yes, nimasiar. About yes.
Tell us about you.
Yeah.
Your journey. Yeah.
So I grew up in Soweto, bread and buttered, Kwakasi. Then obviously started as an activist. The activism that was inherent in me. I had this burning desire in me to change the status quo of the child, an ordinary child who's like me, Kwakasi, you know. So that's how it started. And obviously you would go inherently when you grew up in Soweto or Alexandra or in a township per se, you are mistakenly affiliated with a certain organization. They would say, Kewarona, or, you know, Kewarona, he's ours, he belongs to us. You know, so there's that level of entitlement. But however, so we then formed an organization, NPO, called Itembalama Africa, right? And we envisaged on changing the status quo still. And we had various programs in that NGO, Itembalama Africa. One was Adopt a Family and Make a Difference. We mainly focused on child-headed families. We had Food and More, where we wanted to partner with government at the time to say, let us create an agile space, and instead of us building RDPs, let's come up with a model where we would build human settlement surrounding a complex and a duplex, meaning some would live in duplexes because we don't have spaces, and you know, Joburg is full of dolomite. Dolomite is underneath. I think it's hollowed. I don't know what is dolomite, but okay. Yeah. Partly, I think when they talk about dolomite, they would talk about the land that has water underneath,
okay,
which is wetland, or sometimes they would say because we are a mining zone, so it is hollowed underneath. So when you build on that land, the houses inherently cracks. This is why most RDPs, they do not survive after a certain period of time. And we said, okay, that model we want to build, because we don't have spaces. Let us rather turn Soweto or a township into duplexes, build over the current existing house. You know, let us eradicate shacks, backroom dwellers. So this was us being naive as children at the time. We had another program called the I Am the Future campaign. The I Am the Future campaign saw the light of the day when I was the MMC responsible for development planning. I'll touch on it when I come into that space. So as a councillor of Al-Jama-ah, I then grew into becoming a chairperson of an oversight committee, section 79, doing oversight on governance. And then from there, that was during the late Mayor Jeff. And then Mayor Jeff, at the time when there was a fallout on a bilateral of two parties in our coalitions, I became an MMC. Then I became an MMC. Then Al Jama-ah inherently governed in that coalition construct. I know people might say, no, but you were not governing. We were governing because we took decision on the table with the executive mayor of the city. And then we were disrupted by a local government election, the LGE, in 2021. And then we said, as Al Jama-ah, we want to lead our people and do our advocacy in the opposition. We are not married to this thing. Let us go to the opposition. That's why we went to the opposition. And successfully, we've shredded the spirit and the soul of both the right-wing movement that was governing the city. The father and the stepson. My predecessors.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So, and then I fortunately, after being MMC and I understood the construct of a mayoral committee, then I became the mayor. So ironically, our campaign in 2021, we had two campaigns. One campaign that we used, and I was the face, fortunately. It was, we are leveling the playing field, which we have done, leveling the playing field. And then we are tipping the scale, right? Tipping the scale of the injustices and the justice. So leveling the playing field, I know the media would perpetuate that there are small parties versus big parties. In a coalition construct, there is no longer a small party versus a bigger party, in the sense that when you are in a coalition, the electorate didn't give you an outright mandate to govern. So we are all below the threshold, which is below the margins of governing. So we have technically a bigger minority and a small minority. But how I interpret it, it's a new versus old. Because this is what the country wants, or this is what the nation wants. We want fresh ideas. We want new leadership. We want, you understand? So basically, this is where we are. And in summary, that's where we came from and to where we are today.
So again, that's your journey.
Yeah.
And Al Jama-ah, what are the fundamental core values of which the party's documents, manifesto, constitution, etc. are based on?
Yeah. We are a political organization that is founded on the values and principles of Islam, with the mandate of the larger community or the broader community. We are Al Jama-ah, a political platform for all communities. Let me try to also demystify the notion of the name Al Jama-ah being Islamic. The name alone doesn't say, it says nothing about a party being Islamic versus a party like African, Christian, what. Right? There's nothing Islamic about Al Jama-ah. It's just a language that has been chosen to name the party. Al Jama-ah means community. Al Jama-ah means the masses. Al Jama-ah means the electorate. You know, it doesn't say Islam. It doesn't say Muslim. We need the principles of religion to drive our moral compass. Every party that was founded on those values of religion, including the bigger parties today. They still go to church to lobby votes, but that doesn't make them Christians. What it does, it means that that's where the human capital, which is the core fundamentals of building a political organization, are found. And we find our human capital in a mosque. And that's how, and this is when we were formed in a mosque, using those values and principles. And I want to also argue to say, if there's a pothole, which the nation laughed about when Thapelo Ahmad became the mayor, said, I want to wage war against the potholes. They found it amusing to say, but what kind of a mayor prioritizes potholes over many other problems? The city has problems. You know, it's service delivery, and at local government, that's where you are mandated to deliver the services to the residents. You know. So a long story short, that pothole, when you're driving your vehicle, it doesn't say you are a Muslim or you are a Christian or you are a Hindu or you are a Jew, but that when it hits your car, you are inherently affected, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your culture, tradition, religion. ethnicity or faith or creed. So that's how, and this is when we were founded. We found our solace in a mosque. We found a mosque to be a safer place. And ironically, today you find people out of faith, people who are not Muslims, who are saying, Mchana, can that party alone, Mchana. I want to vote for that party, I think that party, it's a better party to eradicate corruption based on those principles. Someone might argue to say, but that party, it is said it will bring Sharia. You only hear the people. Remember, we interact with people on the ground. You only hear the narrative of Sharia law only when the media pronounces on it. Aren't people going to say you are going to bring back Sharia law in South Africa? That's
Sharia law. Those are things which are forbidden by the Quran. Am I correct?
No. Sharia law. It's law. It's jurisprudence. It's an Islamic jurisprudence. It's also law. It's also judiciary. It's
Okay.
It's what we call.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, it's what we call Mogasi, a Roman Dutch law.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So it's Sharia law, but it is governed, or it's an abstract from the Quran and the principle or the practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. We understand that in as much as we want to embody the values of Islam, embody the principles of Islam, we also understand where we live in a constitutional democracy, right? And we are very cognizant, we are alive to the realities of the constitutional democracy. Credo, the late Motwa, he once said, Muslims are going to take leadership in this country and Muslims are going to govern. I'm not sure if you've came across
No.
such.
Fortunately not.
Yeah, but there was already, he had already preempted, and we are a living testimony to that. And over and above that, in conclusion, when Chief Justice former Mogoeng, when he was asked, okay, Wena, how is it possible that you are going to be the president of this country as an independent candidate? And then he says, I'm not saying he's endorsed, but he said, there's only two effects in South Africa. The first effect, it is the Madiba effect. The second effect, it is the Jama-ah effect. So when we took power, when we took the office, the higher office in the city of Johannesburg, so we instilled hope, not just to a child who lives in Alexandra and Soweto or Diepsloot or Tembisa, but even academics and people of high stature, they saw us and they believed and they realized where we are alive with possibilities.
Going into your guys' manifesto, one of the motions you guys have tabled is the recognition of Muslim marriages.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that?
Muslim marriage bill, it's at the minimal. Muslim personal law, right? It is at the minimal. It is not consequential, right? What do we mean? Generally, the marriage bill of South Africa was never transformed. I can give you a citation. I can cite one incident. I'm talking about general. So it is never transformed in a sense that if I relocate to Cape Town with my wife, and when we reside in Cape Town, and it unfortunately happens that I divorce my wife, and our court hearing is held in Johannesburg. When I come together with my wife simultaneously to Johannesburg, and we incur costs in terms of accommodation, hotel costs, and travel costs, the court of law is able to reimburse only the man, the male figure, but not the female. I'm generalizing. I'm not saying only Muslims.
Just
right? Generally, whether Muslims
weird.
or not. It's not weird. Remember, we are coming from a history
Of oppression.
of oppression. And not just oppression of a black child, a black person, but it is a patriarchal society that has oppressed, inclusive of our female counterpart, because when we were segregated, it was race and gender, right? It was race, and then in that pyramid or the pie, it was a superiority of a white man, a white woman who's after a white man, a black man, and then lastly it's a black woman. So our marriage bill, our Muslim personal law bill, advocates for women across, not only women in Islam, right? Over and above women across, we also have a challenge as a society of Muslims. I grew up in Soweto. We are a minority within a minority. I'm married to a woman. My wife became a Muslim, but not on my ticket, of course. So when I met her, this is sentimental, I'm going to say it. When I met her, she was already embarking on a journey of becoming a Muslim. That's how we met and we interacted, and it was easier for us. So when I married her, I went to a family of Zulus, and I told them, okay, this is the framework of my religion, but out of respect, this is how I want to marry your daughter, and I want to follow your principle and the likes. And we reached compromise, both parties, if there are compromises, and we made it possible. It happened. So if I die in my society, this is what it means, the marriage bill. If I die tomorrow, so the imam would do the ceremony of Muslims, the Muslim Islamic ceremony, but the institution of Home Affairs doesn't recognize that marriage. So when I die tomorrow, it means my woman can be kicked out of the family. It happens not only in Muslim spaces, even our broader community, black people. They would say
that the customary,
more of customary, more of customary, right? So
but customary marriages are recognized, right?
They are recognized at the minimal. This is why we had an issue.
Okay.
You understand?
The one Yamadiba.
Yamadiba and the wife, the former wife. So it's customary marriage. So it's a testimony. It's not completely transformed, right? So we also have those challenges as Muslims, and we're saying, okay, if I die tomorrow, my wife will be kicked out, and she'll be told a whole lot of stories. So what it means is, with that certificate from the imam, you can just take that piece of paper, go to the Home Affairs, and say, I'm now married, and then it will be taken into a registrar or a roll and say, okay, you are a legitimate husband and a wife. So this is what it meant, and it's greater achievement. So over and above that, so we spoke about the dignity of a woman and a child in our manifesto, if you remember. So it all came from that bill to say, over and above that, we are saying men should stop running away from responsibilities, nurturing their children. There's a whole lot of women counterparts who are single parents because of our conduct as men, right? So we are saying, men, after you divorce your wife, in that period, the government must impose. It must be forced. It mustn't be a choice from you as a man for your maintenance. We are saying the government at least must push that every man in that divorce period, they must be forced to give. It's something like a grant, but at least it must be compulsory for a man to give 1,000 rands.
Child maintenance.
Child maintenance, okay, as an obligation, because this is your child. You understand? You shouldn't wait for the court processes to pronounce. But in that process, there has to be, because, some of us, they will say, what's now we divorced, why should I, And remember, it's a sensitive period where children are also affected. So this is how we're trying to come in and say, you must.
On another point of your guys' manifesto, it's legislating for equitable land reforms.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. When I was MMC for development planning in the city of Johannesburg, 2 reports two critical reports that I've tabled and taken to council was the Southern Farms, which is in the south of Johannesburg, in the peripheries of the city. The second one was the Lanseria precinct, which is the famous one because President Ramaphosa, when he took the reins of power, he spoke about a mega project of smart city. So our predecessors, they didn't want to push that report. And because they understand where it is detrimental to their political handlers, right? So what we envisage, the reason why, fortunately, I wasn't completely late coming to the studio today, but let me say this on record.
Okay.
Let me say it on record. So I decided to come. I came from the south of Johannesburg. So I decided to drive via November 1. Why? Because had I taken M1, Mike 1, Sentin route, there's a lot of traffic just after Braamfontein going into the north. There's a lot of traffic from Braamfontein going to the south of Johannesburg. What does that mean? It means we're still not yet being reformed because the vast majority still resides in the south. The opportunities are not there in Soweto. The opportunities are not there in Diepsloot, which is the northern periphery. So we are saying a child who lives in Soweto, if they want to come and work in Randburg and they use a taxi, they would probably take 3 taxis. A child who lives in Orange Farm, they would probably take 4, if not 3 taxis, 4 taxis to come to Randburg. So the entire month, the cost implication, you will be paying transport over and above the survival. So the Southern Farm, we are taking the means of the economy, bringing them closer to the people. We are saying we need to build the mixed model. We need to build factories. We need to build settlement, human settlement in the south. We need to build companies. We need to build the same way City of Johannesburg had a glory at some point, and that glory is taken to Sandton or Rosebank. The president says, I'm committing 100, not 100, I'm committing 74 billion for the Lanseria mega project, and we pushed for the child who grows in Diepsloot must be agile enough. They must live closer to the corridors of the economy, which is the Lanseria. When I became the mayor, because I pushed it as an MMC, when I became the mayor, I said, where's my first IDP? They told me it is in Region G. Where's Region G? The south of Johannesburg. I said, okay, sharp. I'm not going to Region G until the MMC of Finance commits a budget from the city for the Southern Farm. The MMC of Finance committed 100 million set aside for that particular program. So this is what we say when we talk about the land reform from an Islamic point of view. As a Muslim, not as a politician, I'm taking off the hat. We fight for the land which belongs to us, and we die for that particular land. My political cap again. So we are saying it is imperative for us to understand the essence of the land. For us, it's not just the rhetoric, and for us, we don't say people must go to invade open spaces. Every land that belongs to government must be redistributed to the people. We've done that, practically so. Yeah.
And then I guess you largely spoke to it in
Yeah.
the land issue.
Yeah.
But now, overcoming rural-urban economic divide.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that aspect of the manifesto?
Look,
without duplicating.
Yeah. The economic divide, we just need good governance. We must bring all parties together. When I was the executive mayor, there was a church that went on social media and said the city is not clean. And we went to clean the city, the inner city, not the city, the inner city in particular. 3 times a day. Yeah?
3 times a day.
Yeah, 3 times a day.
What were you cleaning so many times?
Exactly. Why were we cleaning so many times? Because the inner city is not meant for the people to inhabit. People must go there to derive benefits of the economies and fight that divide, the economic divide, and go back to maybe the peripheries of the inner city, not to the outskirts of the inner city. All right. So the church says, remember, we've disrupted the system when we came in as Jama-ah, right? So there was a whole lot of pushback. And we said, okay, let us clean it 3 times. We cleaned. And when I went there to do my oversight, I realized, man, something is lacking here. And I asked myself, what is it that is lacking? Civic education. What is civic education, right? You go there in the inner city, people are saying the city is not cleaning. The city provided a skip bin. The city brings in, pick it up 3 times a day. Next to that skip bin, people are littering here. You go, you peep, the skip bin is empty. So civic education was very important, which the church failed to identify, to say, this precinct, it's a precinct of the church. Let us educate our people as well to, the church has equal responsibility to teach and educate.
How do you go about educating someone about putting rubbish into a bin?
So without losing my chain of thought, I'm going to say I was driving, the taxi driver littered. I stopped and I opened up the window. It was on a traffic light. And I said, hey, Chief, what you've just done, I think it was a banana peel. I said, there might be a senior citizen who might pass here and they might walk onto this thing and they will slip and fall. And the car might run over them. So you wouldn't wish this for your granny. So please, humbly, pick it up. The man didn't even argue. He opened up the door, he took it, put it in his car. He went. It's education, right? So we are saying, Rona, we want to foster stakeholder engagement to kill that divide of the economy. To say, through stakeholders, we want corporate sector to partner with government. Not only Kadi Points men, the corporate sector has the ability to do and to transform. Government doesn't create employment, right? But through agile means, government is able to create opportunities. We are living in a province that has a mining belt from the east to the west. Why can't we say all the mining companies that are extracting minerals in the city in the province? Let us partner with the province. Let us impart, or also partner with schools, impart that skill of artisan to train these kids to become miners and fight the scourge of zamazamas. Because zamazamas are a problem in our societies. You go today in Rivali. you go in Rivali today. The community would say there's drugs in our community. Every day there's shootings. And those shootings is not just gang violence. It's also shootings that are coming from the zamazamas, right? And why do people go to the drugs to use substance? Because there's a poverty in the society. And building rehabs doesn't create solutions. Why? Barry and idle mind is a devil's workshop. Why can't we create those skills and teach the people in Rivali how to mine so that they can extract and forget about their sorrows, forget about drugs, substance abuse, and kill the gang violence and create a productive thinking. You partner with corporate sector. This is one of the policies that we also need. If you were to ask me about school, corporate sector, they must come in. I met when I was MMC, not even the mayor at the time. I met one technology company from the South Korea, which said we want to bring a school in Johannesburg to teach technologies. So why don't you partner with, so obviously we'll have a competency of schools in the province. Why don't you partner with us and say those, instead of identifying an independent space, those skills, let us incorporate in a curriculum, and you deploy mechanisms to teach these kids so that they can be self-sustainable. The future is digital. We are living in a global community. I can talk to you while you are in China today, now, or talk to you while you are in the West, whether in Brazil or Yugoslavia, So that is the future. So let us partner and create and foster good governance. So this is how we are going to kill the divide, whether racial divide or when I went.
So if we were to take a broader look, there's the UN, there's chapter 6, section 6.
Chapter 6.
That you guys are proposing reform.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that?
So the chapter 6 of the United Nations Charter says any member state that is violating the charter, which advocates mainly on the human rights, must be isolated, must be expelled from participating. And we understand that the United States, this charter speaks mainly on our policy as the party, the Middle East conflict. So we are advocating for a one-state solution because justice is universal. We advocate for justice here in South Africa. We advocate for justice anywhere in the world.
One-state solution?
One-state solution. This is the Middle East conflict.
Yeah.
Israel and Palestine. Because there can never be peace without justice. The Zionist Israel has already occupied 70% of the land. And if we are saying two-state solution, and there's an oppressor and the oppressed, and you take a middle path, there can never be justice. So we are saying, let's advocate for one-state solution, and we call for government not to buy time ka ICJ using state resources as the party, right? We are saying also advocate for Article 6, where using the Article 6, you will remove the veto power of the United States from voting. So remember, America voted 3 times against ceasefire. So we are saying they've used or misused their veto power. So we are saying let us isolate America from the United Nations and see how Israel will continue killing innocent children and women in Palestine. So this is our position, and we are clear on that position. And also, we, as Jama-ah in the city of Johannesburg, were able to, as a commitment to our solidarity to the plight of the Palestinians, when Donald Trump said there's a white genocide in South Africa, and he also pronounced on Jerusalem being the capital city of Israel, we tabled a motion which was supported by parties. And it was successfully carried, and nobody can reverse that decision except for council. And it was carried, and we said we must name Senton Drive, where the US consulate is, number 1 Senton Drive, rename it to Leila Khalid Drive. And later the ANC tabled a motion of Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela. These are 2 heroines which are female counterparts. And one man's oppressor is another man's liberator, because people or Zionists or the oppressors view these 2 female figures as terrorists, which they fought for justice, not fighting for terrorism. So
on there, no?
Yeah.
What would you say the relationship between religion and politics is?
A relationship between religion and politics, there is a vast difference. And when we talk about the Middle East conflict, it has nothing to do with religion. it has nothing to do with religion on the basis ya gore the Zionist regime is using Zionism or Israel to seduce the sympathy of people who are perceived to be Christians, because Christians, they believe gore Israel or Jerusalem is their promised land, right? So in this conflict, there isn't a notion of religion, but it is an issue of humanity, an issue of justice. Because even when you were to say you want to hunt down Hamas, you don't hunt down Hamas in the hospital of children, Rahima Musa, mother and child. You don't hunt down Hamas in a primary school, because why would Hamas go and hide in a primary school? It's an issue of human dignity. And I can't even compare them to animals, because it would be an insult to animals if I were to say they are worse than what. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I interjected. You wanted to come in.
No. Okay. So now, the relationship between Jama-ah and ANC, there's that notion there that you guys are the stepchild of the ANC. Is there any truth to that?
No, we are. There isn't any truth. We are a political organization. The ANC is a political organization. In this coming elections, we are in opposition to the ANC, because we are going to contest the same way we contested the DA in the city of Johannesburg. We are going to contest the Western Cape the same way we want to stop them from turning Cape Town into a sovereign state, or the Western Cape. So we are going to contest them because we are going to the polls, right? So if we were the stepchild, we wouldn't have had a reason to contest elections, because the ANC is there to fight for our battles. So we are not the stepchild to the ANC. So over and above that, we are aligned to the values and ethos of a liberation movement. Again, so the values of the liberation movement, the ANC, it's one of the liberation movement, whether progressive now or non-progressive. But if there's a political organization out there, when we declined the DA approached us at some point.
Okay, this is the T.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah. At some point, right? They needed 3 seats in the city of Johannesburg. And we said, we're not going to work with you on the basis that you are promoting apartheid and Zionism. And what are the chances that you're not going to bring back apartheid? Right? After they took power, they started purging. They started expelling officials. So much so the city became naked. And the city collapsed financially. When I took the office, it was only 400 million left. And it collapsed in a sense that they didn't know. They only spent, not collecting revenue. So the first thing that we did, we appointed senior officials. And then we started.
This is now when you came
When I became the mayor. That's how we stabilized the city. And as we speak now, let me shout out to Mayor Kabelo Kwamanda. He's achieved a clean audit as we speak now, in this period of a year. Because we came in, we said, okay, let us appoint the city manager, let us appoint the group CFO, let us appoint the engine of the city. And then let's get grants from other spheres of government. And we did. And we went to the DBSA, we borrowed some money. The SMMEs were owed 6 billion at the time. SMMEs were not paid because one, they are black, and two, they were told you wear black, green, yellow. You are cadre deployment. So we are investigating until the city collapsed, until the service delivery was stifled. But today we are gradually building the city and we are successful.
So come June 1st, whatever the result.
Yeah.
If you guys become kingmakers,
yeah,
who would you guys support?
We will support any movement that is upholding the values of a liberation movement. And we will be supported It's not only us who's supporting. Remember.
Yes.
And I'm deliberately saying we will be supported because when you are going into a coalition construct, each party need the other.
Give and a take.
It's a give and a take. Yeah. So we believe that we will also be supported by such parties that are aligned
to enforce the manifesto.
Yes. So just in conclusion, I was in a manifesto debate with the premier candidate of Solim Simang and Funzin Goben. And they both said something very strange in that panel. They said, when we take power, we are going to the hospitals because our hospitals are collapsing. And when we go to the hospitals, the first thing that we're going to do, we are going to expel all those doctors because they are delinquent and they are not performing. This is why our hospitals are collapsing. And I asked them a question. Why would you do that? They said, no, because they are catered employees. These are professionals. You can almost understand those values and those principles are infused with apartheid. It's not only cadre deployment, but it's about let us gentrify and change the optics of what we're seeing. That's my own analysis, because a doctor goes there with qualifications. Yeah.
Now come 29 May.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Why should the voters vote for you guys?
The voters should vote for us because, one, we are a living testimony and we've committed to our deliverables. We've stabilized the city that was collapsing or in the brink of collapse. And secondly, the executive mayor has achieved the clean audit, which is the mayor from Jama-ah. And thirdly, the mayor has adopted a model of alternative energy. Now he's slowly building on creating a solution of load shedding. He's implemented or launched a power station in Alexandra, Alexandra Emarasteni. It's a solar power, and a power station in Flerov, a diesel power station. And recently, I think last week, he launched another power station. And one would ask, isn't that an ANC initiative? Why, if it is an ANC initiative, why isn't that in the municipalities that are run by the ANC, you see that implementation? Or why is it not that, because maybe they would assume it's coming from the province. Why don't you see it in Tshwane? Why don't you see same initiative in Ekurhuleni? But we also understand the intergovernmental relations as Jama-ah, the stakeholder engagement that I was making reference to, where it fosters clean governance. And we are a trusted political party because we are approached by other organizations that we are working with currently and organizations in the opposition.
Okay, all right. Thank you for making time for us. And
thank you so much.
Dissecting your manifesto to make it palatable for the voters.
Thank you so much. I hope that the interview is also palatable. Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
Thank you so much.
You guys will give us feedback and let us know. But between that, before that, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and tune in same place, same time next week.